Breaking news, President Trump considering whether to fire special counsel Robert Mueller.
Swirling speculation about whether the president would move to fire Robert Mueller, the special counsel running the Russia investigation.
It is the lead story of today's New York Times. It is the front page of the LA Times.
It amounts to political suicide if President Trump actually tried to fire the special counsel Robert Mueller.
I think at some point we're going to have to stop saying Trump is committing political suicide. All right? Donald Trump don't die, people. Donald Trump is the Transformers movies of politics. No matter how bad it gets, it's never over. And you think you don't know anybody who supports them, but you do. You do. That being said, though, I get why a president firing the special prosecutor investigating his campaign is something the media would want to cover, because it's fun to gossip. Which, if we're honest, is at this point all this story really is.
This all started when the president's friend, Chris Ruddy, floated this idea on the PBS NewsHour. We know he was here, had West Wing meetings. We don't think he actually met with the president, by the way. That's important to point out. But he did float the idea that the president was thinking about this possibility of trying to get Mueller fired.
So some guy is just guessing that Trump is thinking of firing Mueller. Well, no, Chivambu. Trump's always thinking about firing someone. It's who he is. Right now, at this very moment, he's probably watching the White House gardener out the window going like, maybe if I fire him, Russia will disappear. Maybe him? No. Look, I know it's exciting to think about Trump sabotaging his presidency, but this is a rumor. No more, no less. Like, why waste energy on speculative crazy when there's so much actual crazy to focus on? Like, for instance, this recent gift from the House of Representatives.
Republicans voted to undo most of the Dodd-Frank Act, arguing it made it harder for banks to do business and hampered the economy. The House voted to undo stricter banking rules imposed following the 2008 financial crisis.
Yes, finally, Republicans stepping up for the white working-class banks. And look, I know that relaxing bank regulations could easily lead to another financial collapse, but is that necessarily a bad thing, is it, huh? Because, I mean, let's be honest, every generation deserves the chance to complain to their kids about how rough they had it, huh? So when this causes the next crash, millennials will finally get to tell their story. After the crash, we couldn't afford the puppy filter. We had to use roadkill and scotch tape, and we were happy. We had it tough. People, you understand what happened here? The House voted to repeal Dodd-Frank. That actually happened. The Mueller thing didn't. But there's way more coverage on the Mueller story because it's more fun to watch a soap opera than CNBC. It's the same reason today everyone was glued to the latest installment of the D.C. Hobbits, the Senate testimony of Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
In the hot seat, Attorney General Jeff Sessions set to testify on Capitol Hill today about his Russian contacts during the presidential campaign.
Attorney General Sessions, if you would stand, I will administer the oath to you.
Oh, you were standing? Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that you were standing at the time. That's right. Jeff Sessions today gave sworn testimony about the Russia investigation to the Senate Intelligence Committee, right? And it was a pretty dramatic hearing because just last week, James Comey testified to the same folks, and he threw some hard shade at his former boss, suggesting that Sessions hasn't been truthful about his role in the whole Russia mess. And today, Sessions fought back.
So I'll finish with this. I recused myself from any investigation into the campaign for president, but I did not recuse myself from defending my honor against scurrilous and false allegations.
Oh, well, I do declare. Jefferson Beauregard defending his honor. Oh, that was a slick line. I didn't recuse myself. Yeah, part of me does think that Jeff Sessions uses that line all the time, though. You know, I recuse myself from the Russia investigation, but I will not recuse myself from these nachos. Yeah. Wait, $5 for guacamole? I recuse myself. Now, the recusal that Sessions mentioned was one of the key issues everyone wanted to know about. Did he speak to President Trump about Russia after he said he wouldn't? So the question was simple. But if there's one thing we know about magical creatures, it's that if you ask them a question they don't like, they'll just make up rules for why they can't answer.
In any of your discussions with the president about the firing of James Comey, did the question of the Russian investigation ever come up?
I cannot answer that because it was a communication by the president, or if any such occurred, it would be a communication that he has not waived. I am not stonewalling. I am following the historic policies of the Department of Justice.
You referred to a longstanding DOJ policy. Can you tell us what policy it is you're talking about? You referred
a policy that goes beyond just the Attorney General.
Is that policy in writing somewhere?
I think so.
Trixie Hobbit says. After Syrian President Bashar al-Assad attacked his own people with chemical weapons last week, the world has been waiting to see if President Trump would respond with military action. And because this is a decision that could lead to an all-out war, the president announced his decision with all the gravitas it demanded.
President Trump is up and firing off tweets about the situation in Syria.
Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming. Nice and new and smart.
It's hard to see how this is anything but the President of the United States declaring war on Twitter.
I feel like we joked about this, and now it's become real. Because when Trump got elected, we were like, he's going to start a war on Twitter, ha, ha, ha. And then before he got elected, we were like, he's going to become president, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, it turns out every joke about Trump is just a headline that hasn't happened yet. And also, why does Trump tweet so weird? These missiles are nice and new and smart. It sounds like he's trying to fix them up with the missiles. It's like he's saying to the Russians, look, I know you don't like blind dates, but these missiles, they're really nice, really smart. Just come, no pressure, it's just a launch, come on. And now a lot of people have pointed out that Trump used to mock President Obama for telegraphing his military decisions in advance. And now he's doing the exact same thing. But I mean, let's be honest, at this point, Trump's hypocrisy is so unsurprising, it's not even fun anymore. Like, you see it coming, it happens, and you go, yep. You know, it's like someone handed you one of those novelty cans of nuts with the snake inside, but it was actually labeled novelty can of nuts with snake inside. It's like, surprise. Now, look, we could talk about how Trump isn't even seeking approval from Congress to go to war against Assad, and how Congress also doesn't seem to care anymore, but we don't have time to get into that, because Trump is also thinking about launching another attack right here on American soil.
CNN also learning President Trump and his team have been talking about how to get rid of Mueller for months.
Monday night, President Trump suggested he may fire Special Counsel Mueller, and on Tuesday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said Mr. Trump believes he has that authority.
We've been advised that the president certainly has the power to make that decision.
Okay, hold up. The White House always says that Trump doesn't plan to fire Robert Mueller. So why are you checking on something that you don't want to do? It's like seeing your coworker Googling how to dissolve my office mate's dead body. Like, he can tell you he's not planning something, but you probably want to move. Because look, we all know that Trump has been slowly working up to firing Mueller for a long, long time. You know, it's like he's been tantric firing him. You know, he's letting it all build up, and then one day he's gonna be like, you're fired! Ah! Oh my God, finally. Here's $130,000, don't tell anyone about this. And now because of Trump's comments and Sarah Sanders, we have to ask ourselves if Trump is also thinking about firing Rod Rosenstein or Jeff Sessions or Gary Busey, just for old time's sake. But we don't really have the time for that, because in the middle of all this news, this crazy story popped up.
Former House Speaker John Boehner is joining the board of advisors for a marijuana company called Acreage Holdings. It is one of the largest multi-state marijuana corporations in the country.
Boehner, a Republican, went on the record 9 years ago saying he was opposed to legalizing pot. But now he says his attitude towards it has changed, like that of many Americans out there.
It's funny how going from Congress, though, to selling drugs is somehow more respectable, you know? Like, now people are gonna be like, what's Boehner doing since he left Congress? I heard he sells weed now. Oh, that's wonderful. It's nice he's finally helping people. Now, normally, John Boehner pushing Kush would be the day's biggest news about a House Speaker's career plans. But again, today we don't have time for that, because there's also big news from the current Speaker.
Also breaking this morning, House Speaker Paul Ryan will not run for re-election in November. He is the 23rd Republican to announce their retirement.
This year will be my last one as a member of the House. It's been a wild ride, but it's been a journey well worth taking to be able to do my part to strengthen the American idea.
Oh, he sounds like it's his last day at camp. It's been a wild ride. So many fun memories with my friends. Like the time I tried to take away poor children's health care. And swimming by the lake. Best summer ever. Yes, Paul Ryan, top-ranking congressman and guy at the gym who eye bangs himself in the mirror, is stepping down. And then stepping back up and then stepping down. I guess it's legs day. And this is a big deal. It really is a big deal. Even though Paul Ryan looks young enough to play Spider-Man, you got to remember that he's actually been in Congress since 1999. Yeah, that was so long ago, Britney Spears hadn't even done it again yet. Yeah, she'd only done it one time. And remember, we all thought that would be the only time. We were so naive back then. Now, other than pretending that he was upset about stuff President Trump said, the thing that Paul Ryan was most famous for was his deep, sincere concern about America's national debt.
We are fiscal conservatives. What that means is we believe government should not live beyond its means.
The debt is projected to grow to truly catastrophic levels in the near future, leading to an economic collapse and a diminished future.
Bringing our deficit up to $1 trillion will only serve to actually weaken the dollar.
I don't know what it would take for a person to completely sell out the will of the American people, sell out the federal budget, sell out our children and grandchildren. What on earth could you be given in legislation to make you vote for that?
Tax cuts? Oh, I got it right. I got it right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because, you see, after 8 years of blaming President Obama for the ballooning national debt, last year when the Republicans took over the entire government under the leadership of Paul Ryan, here's what they did.
The two biggest achievements for me are, first, the major reform of our tax code for the first time in 36 years. which has already been a huge success for this country, and that's something I've been working on in my entire adult life.
New forecasts say the U.S. budget deficit will balloon in the next few years, largely thanks to the Republican tax cuts.
The CBO says it'll hit $1 trillion by 2020.
Yeah, it turns out after 2 decades of claiming to be all about fiscal discipline, Paul Ryan exploded the deficit with his tax cuts and then just walks away. You know what this feels like? It's like you're walking in the desert with someone, and every time you take a sip of the water, he's like, hey, don't waste the water. Dude, not so much. Slow down. And you're like, okay, fine. Why don't you hold the canister? And he takes it, and then he's like, wet t-shirt contest! Woo! Woo! I was like, all right, now that the water is done, I'm retiring from the desert. Goodbye, everybody. Yeah, but I mean, look, come on, let's not be haters. What's a few $1 trillion between friends, right? Just because Paul Ryan turned out to be a complete fraud doesn't mean we can't give him the send-off that he deserves. Paul Ryan is leaving us, folks. So let's pour out a 40. 40 grams of protein, of course. Yeah, just for him, the way he would like it. Just for you, Paul. Oh, and don't worry. Just like Paul Ryan's deficit, someone else is going to have to clean this up.